2 decades ago, the laws of Umudike were iron. Twins were seen as a curse, a splitting of the human soul that brought misfortune. Nneka, heavily pregnant and desperate, had wandered too deep into the forbidden forest to gather firewood. There, among damp moss and towering Iroko trees, labor pains gripped her. She was alone, screaming into the silence. When it ended, she heard not one cry, but two. Panic, sharper than pain, seized her heart. If she returned with both, the elders would cast them out, or worse. With her heart breaking, she picked up the stronger infant, a boy. She looked at the second baby, a girl with a tiny crescent-shaped birthmark on her right shoulder. With a sharp obsidian stone, she traced a small intentional nick over that mark, a secret seal of blood and motherly claim. She wrapped the baby boy in a wrapper and fled, leaving the girl on the bed of ferns, praying to the gods she was defying. Nneka's heart was heavy with pain when she got home. She deeply regretted leaving her daughter in the forest, feeling she should have faced the elders' banishment instead of abandoning her own child. The next day, she and her husband returned to the forest, hoping to find the baby. To their surprise, there was no trace of her, no sound and no sign. Heartbroken, Nneka concluded that wild animals must have taken the child. She returned home filled with guilt. As the days went by, Nneka focused on nursing her son, Chidi. As he grew, she told him about his lost twin sister. Every day, Nneka would sit in front of her hut, praying silently that the forest would be kind enough to return her daughter. Nneka had a stall in the big market where people traveled from far away to trade. One day, she noticed a young girl, about 23 years old. The moment their eyes met, a strange and powerful connection sparked between them, one neither could explain. The girl was from a distant village called Ibezu. That night, Nneka could not sleep. Her heart was restless. Could this be her lost daughter? She decided that on the next market day, she would ask the girl about her name and her family. But that chance never came. Before the next market day, Nneka had an accident on the farm and became bedridden. In Ibezu, the girl was also restless. She couldn't stop thinking about the woman from the market. The connection was so strong to ignore. When the next market day arrived, the girl rushed there, full of hope, but she could not find the woman. She searched every corner and asked around, but no one could help her. Disappointed, she returned home, hoping to get answers from her own parents. After some time, Nneka recovered and returned to her farming and business. Deep down, she still believed her daughter was alive and that they would meet again. Chidi had grown into a businessman who traveled often. Nneka began to notice something unusual. He was visiting the village of Ibezu very frequently. Curious and hopeful, she wondered what kept drawing him there. She decided that as soon as he returned from his next trip, she would finally ask him what or who he had found. Chidi had been gone for many weeks. When he finally returned from Ibezu, the morning air seemed to carry his joy ahead of him. He burst into the compound, his voice ringing with excitement.
Mama, Papa, I have found her, the one my heart beats for. She is from Ibezu.
Nneka smiled at her son's happiness, though curiosity stirred within her. Who was this one who had captured Chidi's heart so completely? She longed to meet her, but fate delayed it. The day the young woman first visited, Nneka had gone to the farm before dawn. Chidi reassured her.
She will return, Mama, next time with her family, properly.
And so the day came. The compound was alive with laughter, music, and the rich aroma of cooking. The elders gathered, kola nuts were broken, and palm wine flowed freely. It was a day of honor and celebration. Chidi stood tall, proud, as he presented his bride.
This is Adanna.
Nneka's heart swelled instantly. The girl was graceful, respectful, and warm. A daughter, she thought, at last a daughter. As the elders began their discussions, Nneka gently led Adanna away. Come, my daughter, let us prepare food for the guests. Inside the kitchen, Adanna worked diligently, pounding yam with strength and rhythm. Then, in a fleeting moment, her blouse slipped slightly from her shoulder. There, just beneath the curve of her shoulder, was a crescent-shaped mark. Her breath caught, then she screamed, "My daughter! This is my daughter!" The pestle fell from Adanna's hands. Before anyone could react, Nneka seized her wrist and dragged her into the gathering of the elders. Her voice trembling, yet loud enough to silence the entire compound.
"I abandoned my daughter,"
she cried.
"Years ago, I gave birth to twins, but I took only one boy and left the girl in the forest."
A stunned silence fell. The elders exchanged glances. Though the cruel law that had condemned twins had ended years ago, its shadow still lingered in their memory. What Nneka had confessed was both a wound and a revelation. Adanna stood motionless, her world tilting beneath her feet. Her eyes turned slowly to the woman she had always called mother.
"Is it true?"
she whispered. Onyinye's lips trembled. For a long moment, she said nothing. Then, with a heavy sigh, she stepped forward.
"Yes, I went to the forest that day,"
she began, her voice thick with emotion.
"I had just lost my own child. I went there to cry, to grieve in silence."
She paused, gathering herself.
"And yeah, I saw you, Nneka. You had given birth, and you left one child behind. I could not leave that baby to die.
Onyinye continued.
So I took her. I raised her as my own."
Nneka's knees nearly gave way.
"My daughter?"
she whispered, but Onyinye shook her head slowly.
"The child I found was not Adanna."
The air tightened again. "She is Olamma," Onyinye said. "Adanna is my own daughter, born a year later." Confusion swept through the gathering. Then, like a thread pulling memory into place, Onyinye continued. "They grew up together, like twins, inseparable. One day, little Adanna insisted they should truly be alike. She made Olamma carve the same crescent mark onto her shoulder so they would be identical." Adanna's hand flew to her mouth, tears spilling freely now as the memory returned.
"It was me,"
she whispered.
"I asked for it."
A long breath seemed to leave the entire compound at once. Relief, astonishment, wonder. Nneka's lost child still lived. Messengers were sent immediately for Olamma, who had been married the previous year and now lived in another village. Days later, she arrived. The moment her eyes met Nneka's, something unspoken passed between them. Something older than memory, deeper than words. Recognition. Nneka staggered forward. "You," she murmured. "The woman from the market." Olamma nodded slowly, her own tears falling. "I felt it too." Mother and daughter embraced, and the compound erupted into weeping. Chidi stood apart for a moment, stunned by the strange weaving of fate. He had journeyed far to find love, only to unknowingly return to the sister he had lost before memory could hold her. Yet his heart was light. Nothing had been broken, nothing forbidden. He could still marry Adanna, and Nneka was whole again. That evening, she sat between her children, Chidi on one side and Olamma on the other, her hands holding theirs tightly as if afraid they might vanish again, but they would not. The forest that had once took her child had, in its own time, given her back.